Hi, welcome back to the Growing Gains podcast. I'm Grace, your host, and today we are joined by Anson, who got into
MIT.
Yay! And also excuse the noise if you hear any, because we're recording in a very unique location. You can check our Instagram story to see it if you're lucky enough to see where we're recording. Okay, great. So the first question would be, can you just briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I took the IB at SPCC, which is a school in Hong Kong. It's a semi-private school, I think. It's a DSS school.
Yeah.
And what's other acceptances?
So basically, what other schools did you get into?
For high school?
No, university.
Your university? I applied to medicine in Hong Kong, so the 2 schools in Hong Kong. And also for the 5 schools in the UK, I think I got into all of them. And for the US, I also applied to UC Berkeley and UCLA.
Great, and you got into them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, then next would be your personal statistics. So can you briefly tell us about how many marks you got on any of the standardized tests you took?
Okay, this is the boring part, so let me see. Okay, ACT, I got a full mark. IB, I think my predicted grade was 44. IELTS was 8.5, and I didn't take any APs. And for other awards and qualifications, I think I have a very, very long list of pretty, I would say, useless science awards, like those that you take with like 2,000 people and 1,900 people get an award. So those aren't really useful. But I think in my science competitions, the biology Olympiads are the most important. So what they do is they select around 3 to 6 people out from, let's say, 1,000 to 2,000, and then they send you internationally to compete. So that was what set me apart, I guess.
Okay, good to hear. And then next would be your extracurriculars. So I guess they would also include competing, right?
Yeah, the Olympiads are pretty intense because they will send you to universities to train for the better part of the year. And I started around Form 2 and Form 3. So each year I would go to an Olympiad. And after the year, I would get sent to some foreign country to compete. So pretty much most of my Saturdays were spent at universities, often sleeping in lectures. But yeah, my other extracurriculars were I did choir. So I was tenor part leader. And at SPCC, we did really diverse repertoire, so from Baroque and classical to really modernist and Cantonese stuff. And I also started my own patrol at SPCC Scouts, although SPCC Scouts is more like a pranky, jokey place. And it's pretty fun there. And yeah, I also did a few interns and did my own club thingy. So yeah, that was it.
Can you elaborate on your medical club thingy? Like, what was it?
Yeah, so because my dream job is being a clinician scientist, which means a doctor who does research. So think if you know who Professor Yun Guoyong is, so like doctors who can actually push the field forward. And there aren't many resources in Hong Kong to help students develop into that. And it's not a very popular career path too, so maybe every year there's only 1 or 2 people who go in. So that was what I wanted to help cultivate in Hong Kong. So my medical society focused on bridging the gap between teens who are interested but don't have the connection. So in medicine, it's often because your mom or dad is a doctor or they know very famous doctors, and so you can get shadowing or internships, right? So I hope that that would be kind of we could give the same opportunity for aspiring teens who are capable. So I think I organized around 20 internships by myself or in the society. Besides that, we also did some international student exchanges. So because COVID was here, we could use Zoom because everyone's now using Zoom. And what we did was we collaborated with a lot of consulates in Hong Kong. So maybe they didn't have much work to do during COVID, so they took us on, and we got students from around 30 countries joining our Zoom. So that was pretty fun.
Nice. And you did this in a group, right, with other SPCC students?
Yeah, definitely within a group, because everyone has complementing strengths. It's a bit like complementation test in genetics, huh?
I have no idea what that means, but okay, thank you. I just want to ask for your Asclepian society. Obviously, starting a society on your own is very hard, and especially starting it in such a technical or professional field like medicine. Yeah, so did you encounter any challenges? Because not a lot of students start their own medical societies, right?
No, I would disagree with that. I see a lot of medical societies who open IG accounts and they post like fun facts in medicine, or they like go on Wikipedia and copy some wrong information and they just plot it here. I'm not sure if they're using it for CAS or something, but yeah, those types of like initiatives are pretty, I would say they would work against your application for MIT, because they're really looking for people who are contributing something meaningful instead of, the copying facts, which is evidently very useless. So some challenges that we faced were what challenges did we face? We faced a lot of challenges because it was very stressful working with like government people. We once had a constant ring up our school because we messed up a bit, so that was really stressful. What else?
No, like it gives, like, my general impression of people in medicine is that you don't, as a teenager, you actually can't take a lot of leadership positions. So do you think like starting your own club is the only way you can show that you took initiative, or like stood out from other medicine related students?
Well, I guess the medical ecosystem in Hong Kong is pretty, linear. Like you go into med school and then you become an intern and houseman, and then you go work as an MO for 10 years and become a consultant. So it's pretty linear in this sense. So there are many other roles in the medical ecosystem that you can fill as a teenager.
So I heard you talk about like how you were in contact with government officials and all those professors and stuff like that. So how did you get in contact with them, and how did you make them believe in your project so that they were willing to help you? How about that?
I think most professors are really happy to help out, but the problem with Hong Kong doctors are they're very busy. So if you're working like 80 hours a week, you might not want to take on a high school student. But yeah, in general, a lot of them are really, really helpful, and they really want to help nurture the next generation. Because I guess the ones who want money are already in private practice. So the ones that are left in medical school who are teaching the new students really do want to help the students. And yeah, we just relied on their kindness.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
that was it.
yeah. But did you face a lot of rejection? How about
Yeah, I guess we started a bit with my connections in Olympiads, because we were taught by loads and loads of professors in Olympiads. And it's also easier to come up with ideas for activities if you already know the field in some sense because of the Olympiads. Because let me just refresh a bit on the Olympiads. Like you're gonna be learning like undergraduate to postgraduate content in Olympiads. For example, in the Hong Kong Neuroscience Olympiad, we overheard that their questions were taken from the specialist exam. So that means we were answering questions that were like 12 years beyond our age, like 12 years of schooling beyond our age. So that was really, really tough. But yeah, that gives you some idea in general of what Olympiads are. And they're really accelerated programs which teach you accelerated information. But you enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, and also, like, I think most people's general impression of Olympiads are that you have to start from a really young age. So is that true, actually?
Well, I guess not, because I started from Form 2, which isn't that young, and every year I went to a new Olympiad, so it was basically like starting over. So I see many of my friends that started and got into the Hong Kong team in their first year. So yeah, just apply and join if you're interested.
Never hurts to try again. And then I think this is also kind of related to your extracurriculars. So for your Common App essay, did you even write one? Like for UCs, right? You have to also have a Common App.
Yeah, for my Common App essay, I didn't focus on my ECAs at all. I focused on an interest that was with me like for a long time, and that was learning foreign languages. So I wrote about learning Arabic and using it during one of my international Olympiads. So I was in Qatar, and they speak Arabic in Qatar. Yeah, because they're Arabs. But my Arabic wasn't that good, so I got lost, and I wrote about how I got lost and what learning languages taught me about science and what science, what's the place of science in the world and stuff like that.
Can you elaborate on how like learning languages is related to science? Because I don't really get that.
Yeah, so I wrote about how learning languages opens doors, like science opened doors. So it's very vague analogy, and vague analogies are everywhere in science. So that's also something that I wrote about. So it wasn't anything particularly concrete. It was just me trying to put down ideas that came to me.
Wait, just curious, what universities did you apply to using the Common App? And you used the same essay for your UCs, right? And also for MIT?
Yeah. So I wrote my Common App really early because I knew that I wanted to try applying to American universities. But then I didn't really use the Common App because MIT has its own application system where you have like four essays, 5 essays specific to MIT, and the UCs also have their own application platform. So I refitted the Common App essay for those.
And who helped you edit these Common App essays?
Oh, of course, the Further Studies Office helped me come up with the first drafts, but most of the work was between me and my friends, because I really like to collaborate on writing, because, well, I guess scientists aren't often the best writers, and we need people to help us.
Yeah. And how many friends did you ask for advice on?
Probably 20, somewhat like 20, yeah.
What? But I always hear people say, like, don't ask too many people to give you advice on your essays, or else, your essay's going to be really messy. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's related to how biology and medicine are inherently, they inherently involve a lot of data. So I wanted to get more data and sieve through the data to see through the noise and get what actually was important. So you need more people to look at your essays in order to do that.
Okay, so you basically just listen to all of them and then by yourself filtered all the comments.
Yeah, you definitely cannot follow everyone because there's conflicting advice and some people's advice is just strange. Like maybe they don't understand what US applications are, but sometimes they show you, they tell you that your essay is actually interesting to read, which is important.
Okay. And then you also talked about your MIT application, right? Can you go into detail more about how different is it? Like the 4 essays, what prompts did you get and stuff like that?
Yeah, so MIT's application is really focused on their ethos, which is they want to have people who are smart, of course, and who are willing to contribute to their community, which is important. They want you to have examples of doing that in high school. So the essays are about that. And they also want to have an example of how you relax, because they don't want people who struggle in school and are going to get mental illness, because it's hard at MIT, right? So the essays were about that, I guess. There weren't any really weird prompts. Like I heard from Stanford, they had really weird prompts, right? The MIT's prompts are pretty straightforward, and that's probably because most science students who are applying don't really like writing that much. Yeah. That's why it's not a hard thing to do with the essays. Yeah, I would also like to talk about the blogs, because MIT has a lot of blogs written by current students and also the people who read their applications. So they list out in really a lot of detail on what they're looking for. So they're pretty specific. So if you want to apply to MIT, so take a look to see if you're the right fit.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then moving on to your interview. So did you have an interview with MIT professor? So did you have an interview with like MIT admissions officers or alumni or other schools like the UCs and stuff like that? Can you tell us what went on?
Yeah, I got an interview with an MIT EC in Hong Kong. So he
What's an EC?
an educational counselor, I think.
Oh.
Is it? Am I right?
I have no idea.
I is it consultant? I'm not sure. It's basically the representatives of the schools or alumni
Okay.
in whichever place you're living in. So mine was a businessman, and he went into MIT thinking that he would be a doctor. So my interview was about exploring whether I really wanted to do medicine and whether MIT was a good fit for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and did you remember any like really special questions, especially with any of your interviews?
Really special questions. Oh, I didn't remember a lot of special questions, but I remember that he told me that his impression was medicine is gonna close down and die in 20 years. So that was pretty shocking.
Okay, great. And then what did you talk about? So just basically your attitude towards medicine and stuff like that?
Yeah, so why I wanted to do medicine, what I wanted to do, and if I knew the reality of the training path, because being a doctor in the US is a really, really long path, and it's much longer than in Hong Kong, probably like 2 or 3 years longer than in Hong Kong. The working hours are a bit better than Hong Kong, but it's still a very it's a lifelong commitment, basically. And he also told me some stories about how some Harvard Medical School graduates who came back to Hong Kong couldn't practice because they couldn't pass the 執業試. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Right. Yeah, I'm just curious. So you want to be a clinician doctor?
Yeah. Clinician science. The clinician part means I'm going to see patients. The scientist part means I'm going to be doing research. And usually that also means I'm going to be teaching students because that's going to be in a university.
Yeah. Okay, so do you need any qualifications for this role?
Yeah. So usually you need your basic medical degree. So in Hong Kong, that would be MBBS. And then you have your specialist training, which, let's say you're an internist, so that would be MRCP. And then sometimes you need a PhD if you're going for a university that wants really strong research experience. So that would be another 3 years. And I think that's it.
But like you're going to school in the US. Aren't you afraid that you also can't pass the conversion tests like the Harvard graduates?
Oh, they just changed the system, right? So they're gonna allow graduates of there's a list of schools that they're gonna allow students to come back and practice. Like,
and MIT is one of them?
MIT doesn't have a medical school, so.
Okay, so you draw Taiha.
Hi.
Okay, great. And then I know also that you got into Cambridge and other amazing programs. So how did you choose between MIT, Cambridge, and all those top schools in the world?
Yeah, Cambridge is an awesome program for clinician scientists. So because their science program is so in-depth and their ethos is about exploring the ideas with you so that you really have a really deep understanding of the subject when you leave, it was very attractive. But the way that I picked MIT over Cambridge was MIT had an exchange with Oxford, and Cambridge did not have an exchange with any good American school. So yeah, but in reality, MIT has a lot more options. So I could do coding, I could do languages like linguistics, and I could explore any subject I liked alongside bio. So I thought, since I've learned so much bio in Olympiads, why don't I spend my time on something else, right? So that was how I made my choice. But Cambridge is a really, really good school, and St. John's College is really pretty, and that was the college that I applied to. So if you're applying to Cambridge, do take a look at their buildings because it's really stunning.
Okay. And then the next question would be about like financially, right? So yeah, going to the US or the UK to study is really a financial feat. So how did you manage your finances and stuff like that? Did you apply to any scholarships? What was the process like? Did you find it really challenging?
Yeah. Studying overseas is really expensive, especially for grassroots families. So I made sure to apply to a bunch of scholarships. And yeah, I'm on a full scholarship now, and I'm really glad for it.
Yay! And also, I think a general advice, also like common sense, is that if you get into a really good school, it's likely that you will have a lot of opportunities for scholarships.
Yeah, exactly. The financial aid offered by the schools are really generous, so they would cover pretty much all of your costs if you need it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and also check if they're need blind for international students. Yeah, because some colleges aren't. Yep, okay. And then I think our last question would be your time management. So I know that you had a pretty special timeline for applying to colleges. So could you tell us what happened during your Form 6 years?
Yeah, good that this is the last part, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. So I had always wanted to apply to Cambridge, so I was dead set on Cambridge. I'm going to go to Cambridge. So pretty much all of my Form 6 time was spent on applying to Cambridge. And after the Cambridge application season ended, I realized, I have some free time. Why don't I try to apply to some American schools? So I looked around and, MIT is a good fit. So I applied to MIT within a week or so. So I did everything in a week, which was very exciting. It's a pretty long application too, because they have you fill out why your activities are important, and so it's a bit more in depth than the Common App one.
Talk to me about the teacher recommendation letters and everything like that.
Yeah, I was very lucky that I had teachers who believed in me a lot.
Yeah.
And they really wanted me to go to MIT itself. Like they thought it was a great opportunity for me, so they wrote really good recommendations. I guess they told me. Yeah.
And you knew a lot of professors, right? Why didn't you ask them to write any?
Yeah, mainly because of the timeline. So I had like 2 days to ask them, so it wasn't that polite, I guess.
Okay. And I think Anson's example gives you I hope he gives you confidence that you can do it, right? But also, like, don't procrastinate that much. Well, I mean, of course, Anson didn't procrastinate, right?
Yeah, I didn't procrastinate on my Cambridge application. But at the same time, do open yourself up to new opportunities. And do try to do, like, impossible feats. Because that's kind of what MIT students do. Because I think someone in my dorm that I'm going to go to next year built a nuclear reactor in the backyard or something. And someone next door built a roller coaster in front of the dorm. So it's just really crazy stuff.
Great. So MIT definitely has their own niche. Yeah. And then I think I still have one question for you, is that, okay, so you told me we mentioned doctors a lot. So why didn't you apply to Cambridge Medicine, and why did you apply to NatSci instead, natural sciences instead?
Well, I knew very early on that I didn't want to do the medicine degree at Cambridge because of the NHS. It's, in my opinion, not a very good place to be working in. At the same time, I didn't really want to stay in the UK for so long because my family isn't there, unlike MIT. And I guess it's always good to mix and match, go to more places in your undergraduate. So I was always thinking of going to 2 places for my basic sciences and for my clinical training.
Okay, and then I think, this is the last part. So do you have any final advice for students who are applying to colleges, and especially applying to really, really competitive and top colleges around the world?
Well, do try doing something that will surprise yourself. So, be a bit more radical. I guess you have the luxury of trying new things right now at your age. Yeah. So I did a lot of borderline, not illegal, I would say, but very borderline things. Yeah.
Like what?
Let's not talk about it.
Okay. Any final words?
No final words.
No. Okay. Thank you so much, and to our fellow
inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you to our fellow listeners for tuning in for this episode, and we'll see you next time. Bye!